Hello, you're listening to another episode of Butterball. This is a podcast of family members. We're talking ball and we're having a ball. Hi, my name is Scott.
Hi, y'all. I'm Nicole. Follow us on Instagram at Butterball Podcast. We post clips and other great things on there, so follow us on Instagram at Butterball Podcast.
Usually we have our son Drew on, my son Drew, Nicole's brother, but he's traveling this week. So he would normally tell you to follow us on Spotify at Butterball, on YouTube at Butterball Podcast. So with Drew out, we decided this week we would invite my sister Jenny back in. Last week when we talked to Jenny, we established that she's a endurance athlete. She's done a lot of triathlons and different things like that. Well, she just last week participated in a very unique event. And so she and her friend Rob McKillop, who is right beside her there, are going to tell us all about it. This was a very interesting activity. Lori and I were looking for the results online to see how things were going, and we were also seeing that storms were coming in and different things like that. So I think you got a pretty cool story to tell. So it was called Unbound, and it's a gravel bike race. And I'm going to turn it over to you two to tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I can start. It got going about 20 years ago. A lot of gravel racing started in Iowa, and this was an event that started in Emporia, Kansas, with 34 racers, and then it built up from there. I raced the 100 in 2015, which was a 100-mile race, which was crazy muddy. And then I started racing the fat bike 200 there 5 years ago.
Fat bike 200, so 200-mile race on a fat bike. So
on gravel.
On gravel. So for fat bikes, what's the distinction that says this is the fat bike division? What does that mean?
Well, we have fat bikes, and we signed up for it.
Is it like a special tire size or something?
Yeah,
it has to be
4 inches wide.
4 inches wide. Okay.
So
they look like the new e-bikes. Only they're not e-bikes. They're like man-powered bikes. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yep. The race itself, as Rob said, it started with 34 racers. This year there were over 5,000.
Yeah.
So it's the largest gravel event in the world.
Wow.
And there's there's a pro field as well, and people come from all over the world. I think they said there were 34 countries represented or something.
56.
Like that. Or 56 countries.
All six continents.
6 continents. There was only one continent that wasn't represented at the race this year.
Antarctica.
Wow. And every state in the United States has somebody coming, right?
Oh, yeah. And the distances, there's a 25-mile, a 50-mile, a 100-mile, a 200-mile, and then they call it the XL, the 350-mile.
Yeah.
And those crazies start the night before and ride through the night and then finish, around the same time as people that are finishing the 200-miler.
Right.
So.
Wow. Yeah. So
this year, there was a ton of them. There's maybe over 250, but less than 20% finished. I think 60 finished.
Yeah.
So it was like really brutal for those guys because it was storming and muddy all night long. Plus the next day when we got into the mud and the rain and everything.
Yeah, because we had 4 storms during the day that we had the pleasure of riding through. So some people that ride through all of them got the pleasure of riding in all of them.
So for people, so for our listener base that doesn't understand, about gravel bike racing, the miles per hour you're going to average on a fat bike or on the other course, go over a 200-mile stretch is about what?
The pros are over 20. For regular people, it's probably in the low teens, and the goal is to beat the sunset, which means you have to average around 14.5 miles an hour. I've never quite done that, but that's pretty typical, and you have until 3 a.m. to be done.
Oh, so they will cut it off. Okay. So we were watching the results, online. We were noticing that Jenny's time, she was at about mile 160, and then we were like, oh crap, it's getting dark. You know, you're gonna have to go your last 40 something miles in the dark, and then
Mhm.
if it's raining, in the mud and all that kind of stuff. That has to be incredibly hard because there's no
Yeah,
lights out there, right? Except on your
that's
bike,
when I
right?
started having accidents
Yeah.
because it was raining, it's dark, you can't see a line. You know, gravel racing, it's important to find a line in the gravel. So, you know, you're watching the road trying to figure out where to steer your bike and make sure you see Book in the background.
Yeah.
Right. Um,
Oh
and
my
it's
god.
super important to find a line. Well, once it got dark and it was pouring rain, you couldn't see a line. So, and there was so much water on the roads. My first accident started, I think I went down the first time at about mile 170-ish. And then I went down 2 more times after that because I just couldn't see. And
Yeah.
you can't see when you hit a big mud bog or whatever. And yeah, so it's very difficult at that point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it gets really
Crazy.
slow. I was very slow those last miles.
Oh, I bet. Well, there's times you have to walk your bike and walk it through water and walk it through mud and everything else. So
Mhm.
that'd be incredibly slow then when you're trying to get going. I can't imagine how much mud had to be caked into your gears and around your chain and on your tires. I mean, does it just like stop the bikes? I mean, do you have to like stop and clean them out, or what do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. There was one point where I was on what's called an MMR. They call them minimum maintenance roads. And they're like farm roads that go through farm fields or whatever. And it's usually like in the grass and there's 2 trenches and then grass. And those are super muddy. They were on Saturday. And there were times when I couldn't even push my bike anymore. It just was so mucked up with mud. And so I'd have to pull it out, try to get it in the grass. And we carried like paint stirrers and
Everybody carries a paint stick.
yeah, and then you hack at the mud in the frame and try to get it off the tires
Wow.
and and then I rolled it in the grass as much as I could to try to wipe it off with the grass. And
Well, then you had the bonus rain, which helped clean you up.
yes, I did. Yeah, then we had I got the pleasure of riding through the last storm, the one that had the 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and that kind of washed me as well as the bike off a little bit. So I wasn't as muddy when I finished as I was earlier, but yeah.
So, Rob, do fat bikes pick up more mud, or do they do better in mud than
Well, it
like?
depends on the kind of mud. And so like in 23 and in 15, it was more of the peanut butter mud, and it's kind of like adobe. It's like clay with rocks and straw built in. You could like build a house out of it, and it just like gets in there, and like the wheel can't get through the frame, right? And but for me, I was a little bit ahead of Jenny, and so I missed some of those storms. We all got the first one, but then the other ones were optional, and I passed on those.
Yeah, he's a lot faster than I
And
was.
but it was more slippery mud, and so the first 40 or 50 miles, instead of like that real clogging mud, most of it was like just splattering mud. And so it's pouring rain, and you're in a big group, and there's this mud splattering everywhere, and so then you have to take your glasses off if you can't see, right? Then you get mud in your eyeballs, and then you like try to put it back on, and then you try to wipe it off, and not everything on you is muddy, right?
Yeah,
And then so like everybody had pretty rough eyes after because there's just mud everywhere,
yeah.
head to toe.
He
Wow.
still has a big red splotch on his eye. And then I saw some guy posted, and he had like some infection in both eyes, and his eyes were all like,
Yeah, because I guess you have to mention the mud is not 100% mud. There's other like a lot of like cow stuff in there as well.
Oh,
because
nice.
it's all ranch land.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, you're
Ew,
going
that
through-
just got so much worse.
Yeah. Well, you're
Yeah.
out there in the wide open spaces of of Kansas, you know? I mean, so
Well, yeah, I mean,
like,
there's a lot of open
You
range.
look down at your water bottle and you really need a drink, but you're looking at the top of it going, that's not going to taste very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, can you
well,
explain again? What does the paint stirrer do?
If this is the frame and your tire like normally fits nice inside of that, when it's like caked with a big pile of mud, it's like extruding sausage, but it is like jams.
You won't roll.
And so then you have to like scrape off like the outer inch of your tire, right, on the side, so it'll go through the frame. And then you have to whack off the top, right? And then like down by your pedals, it just gets to be like giant pile down there. Now, other parts of the bike you don't really care, but like it just jams and then your wheels don't turn anymore. And
I just
so
can't
it just,
believe a paint stirrer is really the best tool that y'all use.
is.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
just
it
random.
works. It works really well. Now, this year, there was a vendor in the expo that gave out these like pointy, like saw like scraper things. And I used that at one point, and that worked well also. You know, just
well,
like
and
a paint.
the thing about a paint stirrer is it's light, so you can, you know,
Yeah,
you
and you can
carry
just
it.
put it in your jersey pocket, and it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
So,
not like you're carrying. You probably
What
wouldn't
about
want to
like a
jam.
chopstick?
actually, I had chopsticks in my bag because that works as well. Yeah.
There you go.
Although this,
See,
for
this is
me,
what I'm wondering.
the chopstick would not have been as effective for me this year because the mud was so thick.
They should
and
have an
big.
event where you eat with paint sticks like chopsticks before you go out there. You know?
I think you might be onto something.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be Emporia like, you know, there's got to be like Kansas barbecue or something you could eat with that or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. So Emporia sits between Wichita and Topeka, and it's
Mhm.
and if you ever have driven on like the 35 going through there, man, you can see for miles and miles and miles. So when I was asking Jenny, I was kind of surprised they call it the Flint Hills because it doesn't seem like it's a hill, you know, but
Yeah.
on a bike, Jenny says different story. There's a lot of like the rolling hills, and you
Right.
really do a
Mhm.
lot of climbing, huh?
There was a 10,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah,
So
close to. I think I had like 8,500 on my Garmin. It varies, you know, just people's computers will vary, but it's not flat for sure.
Yeah.
And there's, I think probably the highest grade I saw was 10 or 11%. I don't know.
yeah. And probably the more interesting part is not so much, at least we'll see what Jenny says, but like, you know, so going to the top is, you know, just pedaling and, you know, we're pretty good at that, right? When you go down the other side, the bottom, that's where all the water has created all the crazy stuff and the havoc and the exposed rocks and you know, going through the water. Like there's pretty much some sort of crazy hazard at the bottom of every hill.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that kind of takes the fun out of zooming down
Right.
a hill, you know, right?
Bomb down the hill, but you got to be, that's what Jenny was saying. You got to be able to, at night, it's really hard to see like that, whatever dangerous thing is down the hill.
Yeah, because you need to be able to find a line. You're always watching, trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to go here? Do I have to get over on the other side of this trench that's in the middle, you know, and get on the other side to avoid water that you can see up ahead or whatever. But yeah, it was a challenge. I did the 100 last year, and we had some wet spots, but it was nothing like
It's
this.
fast last year.
It was
Fast and dry,
fast,
yeah.
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 But
So all told this year, when I looked at the results, Jenny, you spent 19 hours out there.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was brutal.
19 hours. And Rob, you were out there for what, 15 hours, about 15 hours?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long time on a bike, but this isn't just on a bike. It's like, you know, going over, you know, heavy gravel and then through mud and everything else. I mean, that has to just be exhausting.
Well, there was a lot of hike-a-bike sections too. Well, and there was some sections where we had to go through, I don't know about you, but that culvert we had to go through under the railroad bridge, the water was thigh high on me. Like, so we were like
It was the craziest thing.
carrying our bikes through this culvert with water up to my thighs. And I'm
Well,
like,
it was a tunnel under like a big mess of road, and so people they closed it like right after I went through for a while,
uh
and those people had to wait like a half an hour because the trains were like there's so many trains going through there, and so it's a long. It's not just like a culvert like the side of the road. It's like a tunnel
yeah,
under the railroad tracks. That's like I don't know, 100 feet long or something,
yeah,
and it
oh
was
yeah.
deep, and you have no idea how deep it is. It kind of just keeps getting deeper, and you're like, uh
Well, and it's
oh.
funny because and everybody's walking with their bike. I mean, I saw some pro footage of the pros riding it, which is mind blowing. But so you're walking with your bike on your shoulder, and all of a sudden you hit a hole, and you can't see, so you don't know what you're stepping in because it's dirty, grody water, and so
Opportunity
yeah,
to wash your bike off, though, right?
it does.
Right as soon as you get out of there was a crazy muddy hill, so you got it right back on.
Just a very short-lived relief, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
That
was.
reminds me of the time we played glow in the dark golf and Dad fell into a bunker because he couldn't see where he was walking.
Yeah. That's about the extent I'm going to do nighttime activity like that, riding a bike or whatever, where I can't see. We're playing glow ball golf, and that was just walking out of the cart, walking
It's
out
a
of the cart
lot
to my
harder than
ball.
you think.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Yeah.
harder than you think in the dark because
Yeah.
you're used to looking for your ball, not looking at the ground.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that all these crazy conditions are kind of what makes it exciting, right? I mean, that's what draws weird people like us to these kind of events, right? Because you can do all the normal training and planning and spreadsheet work and whatever else, and like plan for a lot of things, right? Like we brought a lot of gear because usually like the most common reason people have to stop is like the derailleur gets ripped off by the mud. And so we both had derailleur hangers. So if we had to replace something and chain tools and all these things, but even that morning, we were pretty convinced it was going to be a dry, fast day. I mean, it rained at night, and then like it was a totally different day than we expected, right? And so there's always some sort of like bike issue or weather issue or trail issue or eating, nutrition issue or
That was my
digestive issue.
question. I had a question about
All
that. Is food on the spreadsheet? What do you eat?
It's got its own page. Yeah, it's a big deal, right? I mean, because any of these kind of things, you're busy, you're like in a big group, and so you still have to keep eating and drinking, or you're going to be in big trouble
Yeah.
later. So no matter what craziness, your hands are muddy, you're like dealing with whatever, but you got to keep eating and drinking. So I don't know. What did you eat, Jenny?
I keep things really simple, and my years of ultra distance triathlon has made that pretty easy for me. I'm fortunate that my stomach will tolerate pretty much anything, and so I survived almost exclusively on gel. So, and I like the precision nutrition brand because you can get a pouch of it that is 90 grams of carbs, which is 360 calories, and I'll eat at least one of those an hour. And you don't have to touch your food. You just screw the cap off. Barry and Joanne, I had bags of it. Okay, here's drop 1, drop 2, drop 3. I'd take out what I'd eaten. They'd put the new ones in my pack on my bike. I had a top tube thing that stored all that stuff, and they'd unscrew the caps for me. So while I was riding, I could just open up the cap and eat it or drink it. It's kind of like baby food almost, and and that keeps the calories in so you don't bonk, and that works really well for me. However, I did have instructions that at the checkpoints, which there was one at mile 44, 99, and 160, I want a piece of pizza. So the night before we went to Casey's, and since I don't eat meat, we got a cheese pizza, and they had it there. And then while we were switching out my bike and they were cleaning my derailleurs and switching out I use a Camelback for fluids. And while we were switching all that stuff out, I'd eat a piece of pizza so I could have something solid that wasn't sugary.
Mm.
And that worked really well for me. I had no stomach issues the whole day. I felt like I handled my nutrition really well. I never bonked. I never felt hungry. I just, you get sick of it, but you just do what you got to do,
Yeah.
But,
So I always say my athletic skill is digestion at this point. At this point, so I had a Jimmy John sub for breakfast, and I like to start with a full stomach, and I had the same kind of like gels and candy bars and fruit pies and whatever sort of
lots of sugar.
lots of sugar, right? And a couple of everything granola bars. I also carry like a big water bottle full of trail mix. I had like salty trail mix for the first half, and then switched it to sweet, chocolate trail mix for the second half. At every rest stop, I had ham and cheese sandwich and a Coke, and then
Nice.
because this is nice to get something solid, and
Yeah.
then I have this giant bag with like 100 different things in there. And then, I just, yell at Barry, okay, I want two of these, two of these, two of these, because you never know what you're going to like or hate. Right. So you just have like some of everything and try to keep it like always fully stocked because for example, if you're like, well, I'm going to go 15 miles an hour. So that means I'm going to be out for 4 hours between these checkpoints. And then you hit 3 hours of mud. Well, you might need 7 hours of food. Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so you have to have like a lot of extra food because there's nothing worse than running out of food and you left, 5,000 calories back, and you could have carried it, right? And so you kind of have to have extra because you don't know how long you're going to be out there,
They talk about ultra distance events and they're, like as an example, triathlon. Well, there's swimming, biking, running, but really the fourth discipline is nutrition. And in an event like this, even though we're just biking, nutrition is critically important. I mean, it's as if not more important because if you don't get enough calories in at some point in a race like this that's so long, you're gonna bonk, and
Oh, I
then you
bet,
won't
yeah.
continue.
Take a little nap in the dirt for a while.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh,
This
yeah.
year it wouldn't have been a dirt nap; it would have been a mud nap. But.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. At some point in time, you can eat like you're on Earth, and then the other times you eat like an astronaut, right? You just eat your goo and stuff when you're
Yeah.
out there
I
in the
don't know.
wide open spaces.
Did you ever look to see how many calories you burned that day?
I usually burn about 10,000 calories in this race.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think I burned about 7,500 that day.
Wow. That's wild.
As a female who weighs significantly less than he does.
Yeah. So Jenny, we were wondering this is, since you've done Ironman triathlon, so how did this stack up in difficulty compared to your past endurance races?
Well, this particular race was harder. Probably because of the conditions were so harsh with, mud all day, rain all day, lightning all day, riding through the storms, the dark. If I would have just been on the bike on dry gravel all day, I don't think it would have been probably comparable, but this was hard.
Yeah.
Because the elements were just so severe.
So we all got the first storm, in the morning,
Yeah.
right away in the morning, and then the one with all the spray mud, and then at least for me, and then after that, there'd be this giant black thing coming, and I'm looking at the route, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna get like the lightning, and I'm like, I just like get around the corner, and I'm like, oh man, Jenny's behind me, she's gonna get like all of that.
Yeah, and I did.
And throughout the day,
I got my
like,
money's worth.
I scooted past these second, third, and fourth. I was done by the fourth storm, but the second, third storm, and poor Jenny was just like rah, catching all of it.
Yeah.
So what do they
That-
what do they tell you? I mean, because you're out there 75 miles out into the middle of nowhere, right? I mean, with all the different routes and stuff. So what do they tell you? Like when a big storm comes, what are you supposed to do if like lightning bolts are flashing and stuff?
Don't get it.
Yeah.
Don't-
It was, I think the athlete, because there's been a little bit of backlash on, on social media about the safety of the riders, blah, 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 people complaining and whatever. And I think if you read the athlete guide, I think it said, if lightning is striking and you feel your hair standing on end or something like that, to like get
Your hair.
get off your bike, crouch down, hold your knees, and whatever. And that's basically what they tell you.
But if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Besides it's a race going on, right? I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's, over all the different distances. At that time, the big storm, there's probably 500 people out there. I mean, they don't have enough jeeps, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and then plus the mud and the whatever. I mean, there'd just be no way, right? I mean, it's just part of the deal,
Yeah.
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 And so, I mean, and that's part of the risk as an athlete that
Sure.
you take when you're like, well, okay. And it's like, and there were people I know that the last 40 miles where it got bad for me, or 30 miles, that were seeking shelter in people's barns and whatever. But I'm like, well, what's that going to do for me? I'm just going to be out here longer. I'm just going to keep forging ahead. I don't want to go and sit in some barn.
That's how I feel on the highway. Whenever there's a storm and I see people pulled over, I'm like, what are you doing? Just trudge through at this point. Keep it moving.
Exactly. So I just kept
Keep it
going,
Yeah.
because, and I figured, well, I guess if I get struck by lightning, it's my time. But
I was looking at all the cattle out there, and then like they're out there every night, and they get stuff like that.
Yeah. They don't have an aluminum well, are your bikes metal? Is there much metal on your
Mine
bike?
was- no, they're carbon.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess okay. You're as safe as the cows. That's good. Yeah, absolutely. So Rob, you do other ultra bike races and stuff around the country, and do you go around the world doing these things, or what are some other big ones that you do?
Well, I did the Leadville 100 for 10 years, and so that was huge. Jenny and Barry and my wife, crewed me for that every year. So that's 100 miles, but it's in the mountains and at 10,000 feet, and so it's shorter.
It's mountain biking,
right? In mountain biking, it's shorter and more intense. And so, and then just lots of other like winter races. Like I really like. Jenny likes it hot. I hate the hot, and I like cold. So I do a lot of like really long winter races. Like I did Arrowhead 135 2 Januaries ago. It could be 40 below. Luckily, it was not that cold, for me. But I like long winter races. And just a lot of other racing around.
So obviously the winter races on a fat bike as well. Yeah.
So he got his 10,000 mile buckle at Leadville.
1,000, yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 1,000-mile buckle at Leadville. What year? Last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And he just got his 1,000-mile chalice for Unbound, because
we needed you to be wearing your buckle and drinking out of your chalice tonight. I mean, come on.
I know.
We're gonna have a party one of these days.
Yeah.
And wear his buckle and drink out of his chalice.
Yeah. I'd be using those things, man. It takes a lot of work to get them. So,
But anyway, I do like the same kind of planning for those. I mean, I just really like the races that are like, a big problem to solve, right? Like you'll get done, and we'll write up, like all the things that we did right, all the things we did wrong, and then start plotting and scheming for next year. I'm going to do this and that, and then of course next year, all the things that went wrong this year are something different, and it's some other new thing that goes wrong. But I mean, that's what keeps you kind of like motivated, trying to figure out. It's not just like straight, watts and how fit you are. There's all sorts of other problems in these long races that you need that are gonna come up for sure. and you just need to figure out how to, deal with them and keep going.
Yeah. I think probably the thing I'd be worried about the most if I decided to ever do one of these, which I'm not gonna, but would be something would go wrong and knock
Next
me
year,
off the.
start working on it. You got to get in shape for it.
I'd be afraid that like I'd get out there and then at mile 100 something would go wrong and it'd knock me off the court or knock me out and I wouldn't be able to finish. I'd be so mad that I couldn't be able to finish that that I would have felt like it was a wasted year getting ready. That's why I'm like, you guys, I got a lot of respect for that because there's a lot on the line when you go out there for a huge race like that,
Right.
and so many things that could go wrong,
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially like when I was going for my 10th Leadville or my 5th Unbound, you're like, it's
Yeah.
like I carried extra like, you know, worry gear this time that I had to carry forward just in case,
Yeah.
something went wrong.
Yeah.
Like I finished.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I was looking at, you had mentioned earlier that, um, a lot of people started that 350 and only what I saw on the website was 237 started the 350, only 59 finished. So I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
In the other races, it looks like, most people that started finished. I mean, a couple hundred maybe dropped out because there were always
Right.
there were 1,000 in each category, and a couple hundred dropped out. But man,
Right.
I'd be so mad if I was one of those couple hundred, God dang,
Yeah.
I couldn't finish.
I think the 200 this year had an attrition rate of about 20%.
Yeah.
I think there was about 20% that didn't finish, but
Yeah. Well, it's a big commitment to do it. I figured too, though, those of you that are trying the 200, you've obviously put in the work to get ready. So you're gonna work hard to make sure that you finish if you can finish,
Right.
but
Yeah, I mean,
but-
you if you're in a big race like this, almost everybody, not everybody, but it is like really committed, really preparing. I started training back in October. I've been riding for years, but I still started seriously training for this back in October,
Mhm.
right, to make sure I was fit enough. Right.
so
Yeah.
what for training? So like how long a rides would you go on for training, like in a week? I mean, like per day in a week?
Well, for me, I kind of worked up to about 15 to 20 hours a week, and you're not really riding that hard. You're just riding really long, and so I didn't have like a lot of intensity. It was just more like, a little hard, not 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 crazy hard because that's what you're going to be doing all day. And you just need to be really good at that, right? And so
Do you
make it
like
so
take your bike to the lake and like walk like this with it, like through some water and stuff, and you know, oh, just preparing,
Roll
It's just
around in
the-
the mud
yeah,
to get used to
it's,
it. Yeah.
it's like the wet ball drill for football. You got to be ready, so you got to practice a little bit.
we did not, but that might be something to think about for
Yeah, we
next
should.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah,
For me, like heat is my Achilles. So I had been spending a lot of time in my hot tub, right? And I know like some pros like have their house set at like 85 or 90 degrees for like weeks before
really.
just to get used to the heat and that kind of thing, right? So there's, you know, there's, uh, there's, I guess, a certain level of craziness that we do that we don't actually roll around in mud or
Yeah.
anything, but
Yeah.
but maybe
Dad
next.
keeps his house at 85 to 90 degrees all
No,
the time.
I don't. I
Anyway.
really don't. I was going to say, Nicole, you'd really be in trouble there because, man, she complains when our house is 74.
It's hot. You guys keep it hot in there.
Well, they're getting old, when you get old. It's
Exactly.
cold.
The
I've been
joints.
saying that.
The joints they're a little stiffer when you get older. That's just the way it is.
I'm like the only one that's sweating in the house, but it's very hot.
No, Brooke does too. She complains too when she gets hot. Oh my God, it's so hot in here. Yeah. I'm the opposite of Rob. I like the heat. And the first storm we rode through, the first storm was cold.
It was cold.
And I was
cold, and I'm like,
freezing.
oh man, Jenny's not going to be happy.
I was freezing. And then the last storm, the second two weren't bad, but the last storm was cold too. I was freezing and I was literally shivering while I was riding because I was so cold. And you couldn't go fast enough to generate enough heat because you couldn't see the road and then you'd go down. And so it was like a catch-22 because I wanted to work harder, but I couldn't because I was going to get in an accident if I did. And so I was freezing. So I would have welcomed, I would have welcomed some heat and humidity.
So
Yeah.
is this a race that you all plan to go back to year after year and just do? If you don't do the 200 again, you do the 100 or whatever. Or what are your what are your
Well,
thoughts on that?
Like it's like asking your wife right after she had a baby, right? She wants you gotta save that question for a couple months.
it actually,
that's
for
good.
me, it only took a couple of days. So if you would ask me on Sunday, I would have said, F no, I'm never doing this race again. But now I really enjoy the race because the community of Emporia just embraces it, and it is really something special. And people that come from 5,000 people from all over the world, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that is incredible. And I think and I told somebody asked me this today, and I told them, well, I may sign up for the 200 again if the weather says it's going to storm all day and be wet roads. Then I may bump it down to the 100, because you can do that at the last minute there. Just say, I'm not going to do the 200, put me in the 100. But especially as a female, because there's not many females that actually race it in comparison to males. But I don't know that I would ever want to go through those conditions again. It was tough.
Something tells me,
Yeah.
Rob, you're in anyway, right?
Well, everybody, just built a really nice regular gravel bike, not a fat bike, and everybody, my wife thinks I was nuts to not use it, and I'm like, no, I want 5, all my 1,000 miles on a fat bike. So it's probably not out of the question that I'd sign up for the 200 again, but not on a fat bike anymore.
Oh, okay.
So try to go fast. I've already been scouting out the 60 to 69 men podium times to see if I think I can get there on a regular gravel bike. So
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah.
because we want to be on the podium, right?
Yeah, well, that's a goal. Yeah, no, for me, the goal was just to finish. So I just wanted to, that was my goal going into it.
But she was on the podium.
I made the podium, but I think that was as a result of attrition. Because I was.
What happened to the 4th place person? Did they just want to get out of there afterwards? Because they weren't on the podium with you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or maybe they had a flight, or who knows.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, it could have been one of your long distance travelers, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is, like if you finish at 1 something in the morning, we didn't get to bed till like 2 or 2:30, and the award ceremony's at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So you have to get up at like 7 and get
So you
over
get
there.
like 2 hours of sleep. Because it took me an hour in the campground shower to get all my clothes and all the mud off, and the campground people probably hated my guts because there was just a giant.
Well, everybody in the entire campground was doing the same thing.
Yeah, a giant pile of mud in there.
God, I hope they have a sewer pipe about this wide, down there. Take all that stuff in.
Yeah, see now what I do is it's all this. I just treat it like toxic waste, and it's like throw it in a bag in the bottom of the RV, and I don't.
No.
I open it up when I get back.
No, there's no way I could do that.
Soak it for a week. Let it brew a little bit. And see what comes out of it.
Right.
Might have a lily pad a little later and something growing up
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Close.
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, and maybe we'll get some other friends. The rumor I heard, was that she's going to do the tandem with Barry next year. So
yeah, we talked about it. I told Barry, I'm like, this race would be really fun on a tandem, and he's so strong that I think we could.
There are only a couple tandems, so you're definitely on the pro.
I mean, I think we really well.
Mud. I mean, if you head into muddy conditions, though, wouldn't that be hard?
Well, yeah. This year would have been brutal, but in normal conditions, this race on a tandem would be a lot of fun.
Well, Jenny,
I don't know, man. I did ragbri with my little wife on the back, and it was kind of tough sometimes. going up some of those
didn't
hills.
Didn't you say that she wouldn't even pedal the hills?
She had her feet kicked up, and she was just enjoying life. Yeah.
I might be a tad stronger than Gloria.
It would be interesting on a tandem, man, on a gravel patch too. I mean, because you got to pay attention when you're on a tandem. I mean, as far as not
Yeah, there
getting
was
out of
a tandem around me often,
yeah.
during probably at least 50 or 60 miles of the race. It was a man and a woman, and they were kind of about the same speed as I was. I would pass them going up hills and stuff, and then coming down hills, they would catch up to me because for obvious reasons. And they were around me for a while, but then once it got muddy and stuff, I never saw them again.
I was really curious about food, and I loved all the information there.
But hydration is just as important,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and you have to have like some salt, some some sugar, and that kind of thing. And then the other thing that's kind of unique is, I don't know if you had to deal with it, but in addition to like the things that water you're gonna put in your body, you have to have some water you can spray on your bike a lot of times. Like if your derailleur or something's making crazy noises, gotta squirt it. Or I didn't have to do a lot of that, but there's been other years where I'm using like all my water, just trying to keep the bike,
Huh.
down the road. So there's an added use of water in these things, and so you got to be able to carry a lot of water and be able to, squirt it on stuff.
That's impressive. I mean, how many races did you have to go through before you're like, okay, now I think I've got everything I need? I mean, you had to be like, you got to keep learning stuff every race almost, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I got my spreadsheet, man.
Yeah.
And so this is really gross. There's a participants page for the race, and people post information and ask questions or whatever. And apparently there were people that, to clear their derailleurs, were peeing on them
Really?
because they didn't.
Well, I was a pro.
Well,
pro guy.
Yeah, Payson did.
Yeah, like peed on his derailleur to try to clear it, because it was.
He'd already wasted all his water, and he was there, like, talking to another pro, Dylan Johnson,
Hacking mud off.
And he's like, I don't have any more liquid to like clean my chain off, and I can't get my chain to stay on. So he's just like, why don't you pee on it?
Hey, he's a problem solver, hey, yeah.
Win-win, I think.
Yeah.
Seems like a good idea to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't work so well for a female.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's just like all sorts of craziness happens, and you just have to figure it out, right? You got to keep moving somehow.
Wow. Yeah. That's good stuff. Well, we appreciate you guys taking the time to tell us all about it. So thank you, Rob and Jenny, for taking the time to tell us about the Unbound in Emporia, Kansas. Those of you that want to get there next year, better start training. It sounds like a pretty tough deal. Nicole, you're going to have to turn the heat up in your apartment so you'd be ready to go.
I could not sit on a bike for that long. There's no way. I would not be able to do that.
So thanks again, Jenny and Rob. And you've been listening to Butterball. This is a podcast. We're talking ball. We're having a ball. Follow us on YouTube at Butterball Podcast and on Spotify at Butterball.
Yes, and on Instagram at Butterball Podcast. Lots of great clips on there.
See you next week.